billionaire's son screamed so loud that every window in the glass mansion seemed to shake. "Don't touch me!" he yelled, his small face red with rage, tears mixing with sweat. He grabbed the crystal bowl from the side table and hurled it at the wall. It exploded into 1,000 shining pieces that rained down over the white marble floor. Four adults backed away like frightened sheep. One man in a suit, one housekeeper, one bodyguard, and one woman in a navy uniform who had lasted only 3 hours as his newest nanny. "I quit!" the nanny shouted, yanking off her name tag. "You can keep your money, Mr. Harrington. That boy needs a miracle, not a nanny." She stormed out, her shoes clicking fast on the marble, leaving a long, thin silence behind her. Marcus Harrington, the billionaire everyone on the news called the Ice King of Wall Street, stood with his arms folded, jaw tight, eyes trained on his son like he was staring down a wild animal. His black hair was perfectly combed, his suit dark and sharp, but there was a tiny crack in his cold look, something like fear. Next to him, Mrs. Doyle, the gray-haired housekeeper who had been with him since college, wrung her hands. "Sir," she whispered, "that's the 5th nanny this month. Maybe we should." "No," Marcus snapped. "No more. I'm done. No one can handle him." His son, 8-year-old Noah, kicked the shattered glass with his sneakers, then turned his angry blue eyes up at his father. "I told you," he shouted, his voice shaking. "I don't need anyone." Marcus took one hard step forward. Everyone in the room held their breath. Even the security guard straightened like he might have to jump in at any moment. And that was when the elevator dinged. Heads turned. From behind the tall steel doors, a soft, old voice floated out, calm and deep. Now, the voice said. "Where I come from, we don't let boys talk to their daddies like that." Out stepped a short, dark-skinned woman with silver-streaked black hair tied in a neat bun. She wore a simple blue dress, flat shoes, and carried a worn brown handbag that looked like it had seen more years than the boy yelling in front of her. Her skin was the soft brown of roasted coffee, and her eyes were so gentle it was hard to understand how they could also look that strong. The guard moved first. "Ma'am, this is a private residence," he said, stepping in front of her. "No visitors today." She didn't even look at him. Her eyes were on the boy, on Noah, who had suddenly stopped yelling. "Who are you?" Marcus demanded. "How did you get up here?" "Security." The old woman smiled slowly, like she had all the time in the world. "You must be Mr. Harrington," she said. "And that must be the little storm cloud everyone's so afraid of." Noah narrowed his eyes. "Don't call me that," he muttered, but his voice had lost some of its fire. Welcome to stories where wealth meets humanity and every moment reveals the unexpected. Subscribe now for more powerful billionaire stories that will move and inspire you. The woman stepped around the broken glass without even looking down, like her feet already knew where every piece was. She stopped 2 steps away from Noah, close enough to reach him, far enough to give him space. "Baby," she said gently, "you're standing in a field of broken things. Somebody's gonna get hurt. You want it to be you." Noah looked down at the sparkling shards around his shoes. Something in her voice made him freeze. No one had called him baby in years. Marcus took a step forward, anger rising again. "Who are you?" he repeated. "I said, no one can handle my son." The old woman finally turned to him. She didn't flinch at his sharp tone, or his expensive suit, or the power that seemed to buzz around him like electricity. She just smiled. "Well," she said quietly, "then it's a good thing I ain't no one." Before anyone could stop her, she reached out her hand, and Noah, who had clawed, kicked, bitten, and screamed at everyone who had tried to help him for 2 whole years, did something no one in that room expected. He didn't smack her hand away. He didn't scream. He didn't run. He just stared at her hand, shaking slightly, his chest heaving, his bottom lip wobbling. And then, slowly, like he was afraid it would burn him, Noah reached out and curled his small fingers into hers. Everyone gasped, even the Ice King himself. In that shining, broken glass room, with money in every corner and misery hanging in the air like smoke. The billionaire's impossible son let the black nanny touch his hand. And in that tiny, quiet moment, everything began to change. But nobody knew yet that this woman was not what she seemed. And nobody knew the secret that tied her to the Harrington family. A secret that, if revealed, could destroy everything. 3 weeks earlier, on the other side of the city, the same woman sat on a worn park bench, watching children play. Her name was Lila Carter. The day was warm and bright. The sun shone down on the green grass, and the park was filled with the music of kids laughing, dogs barking, and car horns beeping far away. But inside Lila's chest, there was a heavy weight she couldn't shake. She adjusted the strap of her old handbag and checked the small flip phone in her palm for the 5th time. No new messages. No missed calls. Just the same lonely gray screen. "Come on, Lord," she whispered under her breath. "I know you didn't bring me all this way just to let me sit here with my last $3. A little girl with pigtails ran by chasing a red balloon. She tripped. The balloon slipped from her hand and started to fly away. "No!" the girl cried, small arms reaching up. Before Lila even knew she was standing, she was already moving. Her old knees protested as she hurried forward, but she stretched up her hand as far as it could go. The ribbon brushed her fingertips, and she caught it. The girl's tear-filled eyes lit up. "You got it." Lila smiled, out of breath. "Well now, can't have good things floating off just 'cause the wind gets a little pushy," she said, handing the balloon back. The girl's mother hurried over, embarrassed. "I'm so sorry," she said. "Thank you. She runs faster than I do." "Most children do," Lila chuckled. "That's their job." The mother smiled. Then her gaze fell on Lila's shoes. The soles were thinning. The heel on the left was starting to peel away. Then the woman's eyes traveled to Lila's dress, neatly ironed but old. Finally, her eyes rested on the help-wanted notice sticking out of Lila's bag, a crumpled printout from a library computer. "Are you looking for work?" the mother asked hesitantly. "Yes, ma'am," Lila said. She wasn't ashamed. She had been through too much to be ashamed of wanting to work. "Been a nanny and housekeeper near all my life. Thought I'd try my luck in the city." "The city can be hard," the woman said softly. "But you seem kind. I hope you find something." "So do I," Lila replied. "So do I." When they left, the bench felt emptier. Lila sat back down, her bones sighing with her. She gazed at the sky for a long moment, then reached into her bag and pulled out a folded picture. The edges were worn white where fingers had held it too many times. It was a photo of a young man with warm brown skin, soft eyes, and a smile that looked a lot like hers. He wore a graduation cap, and his arm was around a little girl holding a balloon. Lila traced the man's face with her thumb. "Hey, baby," she whispered to the picture. "You'd be what now, 34? Her voice broke. "I'm trying. I'm still trying to—" Her phone buzzed suddenly. Her heart jumped. She fumbled to open it. A new email alert glowed on the tiny screen. She had asked the librarian to help her set up an email last week. "Just in case," she had said. Now, just in case had arrived. She squinted at the message. "Dear Ms. Carter, we received your application for the live-in nanny position. We would like to schedule an interview for you tomorrow at 10 a.m. The location is 1472 Harrington Tower, Penthouse A. Please confirm your availability. Best, Dana Price, Executive Assistant to Marcus T. Harrington." Lila read the name again. Harrington. It hit her like a slap of cold water. She hadn't seen that name in years, but it was carved into her memory as sharp as glass. Her fingers shook so much she almost dropped the phone. "No," she whispered. "Can't be. Not that Harrington. Not him." But the address said Harrington Tower. And in this city, there was only one Harrington whose name could sit that high in the sky. Her mind flew back, years and years, to a hospital room with 2 bright lights, a crying newborn, and a nurse whispering, "I'm so sorry, ma'am," while the sound of hurried footsteps and angry voices echoed down the hall. Her heart squeezed. She could close the phone. She could delete the email. She could pretend she never saw it. No one would blame her. No one would even know. But the weight on her chest pressed harder, and something deeper than fear began to speak. You asked for a chance, it said. You asked for a way. Maybe this is it. Lila closed her eyes. Lord, she whispered. If this is your joke, it ain't funny. Still, her fingers moved. One slow letter at a time, she typed. Yes, I will be there. She hit send. The next morning, Lila Carter stood in front of Harrington Tower, her heart pounding. The skyscraper climbed into the clouds, all glass and steel and sharp corners. The letters across the front doors gleamed. Harrington. People in suits rushed in and out. Expensive cars slid up to the curb and slipped away again like they were in a dance none of them ever had to practice. Lila smoothed down her dress. It was the best one she had. It had been the best one for 10 years. She had washed it the night before in the shared sink at the women's shelter and ironed it with a borrowed iron, humming old songs to keep her hands steady. When she stepped inside, the cold air from the air conditioning hit her face like a wave. The lobby was bigger than the whole first floor of the house she'd grown up in. The floor was shiny gray stone. A long, curved desk guarded the elevators, with a man and a woman behind it wearing black suits and polite, empty smiles. Can we help you, ma'am? The woman asked. Yes, baby, Lila said. I'm here for an interview with Ms. Dana Price. For the nanny job. The woman's eyebrows lifted just the tiniest bit. Her eyes did that fast flick again, down to the old dress, the worn shoes, the brown skin. Then she pasted on a different smile. This one was thinner. Name? Lila. Lila Carter. The woman checked her computer. Something on the screen made her blink. She looked up again, this time longer. Oh, she said. Right. Yes. Ms. Price is expecting you. Top floor. Penthouse A. The man at the desk pressed a button to unlock a special elevator. This one goes straight to the penthouse, he said. Security will meet you upstairs. Lila thanked them and stepped into the gleaming metal box. As the doors closed, she caught her reflection. Brown face lined with years. Silver streaks in her hair. Eyes that had seen too much and still got up every morning. She stared at herself. You can turn back, she told the woman in the reflection. The elevator started to rise. Floor numbers blinked by 10, 24, 37, 51. She swallowed hard. No, she whispered to herself. Not this time. When the doors opened, she stepped into a different world. The penthouse entrance hall was almost silent. Thick cream carpet swallowed the sound of footsteps. Paintings hung on the walls that looked like they belonged in a museum. The air smelled like lemon and something flowery. A tall blonde woman in a crisp white blouse hurried forward, hand outstretched. Ms. Carter. Yes, ma'am. I'm Dana Price, Mr. Harrington's assistant. Thank you for coming. Her voice was brisk, her handshake quick. She glanced at Lila's clothes but didn't comment. Come this way. We'll talk in the study. They walked down a long hall lined with windows that showed the whole city spread out below like a gray-blue toy. Lila's eyes caught on a distant patch of green. The park. Her park. It looked so small from up here. In the study, Dana motioned for her to sit. The room smelled of polished wood and coffee. Books lined the walls, rows and rows of them in dark brown shelves. A big desk sat in the center, but it was empty now. The position, Dana began, flipping open a folder, is for a live-in nanny. The child is 8 years old. His name is Noah. Lila's heart skipped. 8. Her breath grew tight. Your file says you've had over 30 years of experience as a nanny and housekeeper. Dana continued. You've worked with children in difficult situations? Yes, ma'am, Lila answered. Babies that cried night and day, boys that fought everybody they saw, girls that didn't say a word for months. I've seen a little bit of everything. Dana nodded. This will be different. How so? We've gone through 11 nannies in the past 6 months, Dana said quietly. 5 this month alone. None of them lasted longer than a week. 2 of them quit on the first day. What happened? Meltdowns. Screaming. Throwing things. Running away. locking himself in rooms, hitting. Once he bit a nanny hard enough to draw blood. Dana's face pinched with worry. His therapists say he's acting out his trauma. I say he's a very lonely little boy who lost his mother too suddenly and has a father who... She stopped herself. Who works a lot. So the mother passed? Lila asked softly. 2 years ago. Car accident. Since then, Mr. Harrington's thrown every resource at Noah. Private tutors, therapists, doctors, specialists. But he spends most of his time alone. He refuses to let anyone in on a regular basis. If you take this job, you'll need a very thick skin. Lila's fingers curled around her handbag strap. What about his daddy? Mr. Harrington cares very much, Dana said carefully. He just doesn't always know how to show it. He's not a very warm man. The Ice King, Lila thought. The news wasn't lying. Dana leaned forward. Before we go any further, I have to warn you. The last nanny left in tears and told Mr. Harrington. Even he couldn't deny it. No one can handle your son. The words hung in the air. No one can handle your son. Lila thought of the photo in her purse. The young man's smile. The baby's cry in the hospital. A door closing that had never truly opened again. Her voice shook just a little as she answered. Lucky for this boy, I ain't no one. Dana blinked, then smiled for the first time. A real soft smile. You really want to do this? Yes, ma'am. Even with the challenges? Yes, ma'am. Dana hesitated. There's one more thing. Mr. Harrington doesn't usually come to these interviews. He's extremely busy. But today, he wants to meet you himself. Lila's heart slammed so hard against her ribs she felt almost dizzy. He what? She whispered. He wants to see for himself who's going to be around his son. The door to the study opened before Lila could say anything else. The air in the room changed, like the temperature dropped 5 degrees. Marcus Harrington stepped inside. He looked almost exactly like the younger man from her memories, but colder, harder, the same sharp jawline, the same straight nose, the same dark eyes that used to hold something like hope, now turned to stone. He didn't see her, not really. Why would he? To him, she was just another old black nanny sitting in a chair in his big house. Another person he could pay to fix what his money couldn't reach. But when his gaze passed over her, something strange flickered in his eyes, just for a second. A twitch, like the shadow of a memory he couldn't place. Ms. Carter, he said, coming around the desk. His voice was deep and even. I'm Marcus Harrington. Lila's throat went dry. For a heartbeat, she thought she might faint. Every instinct inside her screamed. Run. But she didn't move. She made herself stand up. She made herself meet his eyes. Yes, she replied quietly. I know who you are. If he heard the meaning under her words, he didn't show it. And somewhere down the hall, a boy named Noah was counting the minutes until his next chance to destroy something. They hadn't met yet. They had no idea how much they needed each other. Back in the present, standing in the glittering living room full of broken glass, that first meeting had already happened. The screams had already torn through the house. The last nanny had already run away. And now, with everyone watching in stunned silence, the billionaire's son and the black nanny's fingers were touching for the very first time. The whole room waited to see what would happen next. Noah's hand tensed in hers, and at that exact second, from somewhere behind them, there was a deep, booming crash. Something heavy had fallen. Someone screamed, and all the calm in the room shattered, just like the crystal bowl on the floor. Chapter 2. The crash shook the whole room. Everyone spun around. A huge glass vase, taller than a small child, had fallen from its stand near the stairs. It lay on the floor in glittering pieces, water spreading out like a shiny lake. White lilies floated in it like tiny boats. But the vase wasn't the scary part. The scary part was the housekeeper, Mrs. Doyle, lying on the floor right beside it. The heavy stand had tipped over and missed her head by only a few inches. One of her arms was trapped under it. She was the one who had screamed. Mrs. Doyle, Dana cried, racing toward her. The guard ran after her. Marcus stood frozen for half a second, then rushed forward too. But Lila moved first. "Don't step in the glass," she shouted, her calm voice suddenly sharp. "You'll cut your feet. Go around." She let go of Noah's hand just for a moment. "Stay right there, baby. Don't you move." Something in her tone made Noah's sneakers feel stuck to the floor. He stayed. Lila stepped carefully through the mess, feet landing in the dry spots between the glass. She had been walking around broken things her whole life. She knelt beside Mrs. Doyle. "Hey now," she said gently. "You still with us?" Mrs. Doyle's face was pale. My arm," she gasped. "I can't move my arm." The metal stand lay across her forearm, pinning it to the floor. "Don't you touch that till we know if anything's broken," Lila said to the guard, who was about to grab it. She pressed 2 fingers to Mrs. Doyle's neck. "Your heart's running fast, but it's still in there. You can breathe okay?" "Yes," Mrs. Doyle whispered. "Just scared." "Scared is allowed," Lila said. "Dead is not. So we gon' keep you in the first group, you hear me?" A tiny laugh slipped out of Mrs. Doyle's mouth, even through her pain. Lila looked up at Marcus. "You got somebody who knows first aid in this big old place?" "Yes," Marcus said quickly, snapping out of his shock. "The building has a medical team. Dana, call them. Now." Dana was already dialing. Lila spoke quietly to the guard. "On 3, you lift the stand. Only enough to slide her arm out. Don't jerk it. Don't twist it. She might have a break." The guard nodded, his big hands shaking. 1, 2, 3. He lifted. Lila slid Mrs. Doyle's arm free, holding it with both of her own hands like it was made of thin glass. She set it gently on Mrs. Doyle's chest. "Don't try to move it," she said. "Just breathe. In and out. You're still here. That's the important part." Noah watched, eyes wide. His anger had washed away like chalk in the rain. He looked small now. Very, very small. "Is she gonna die?" he whispered. Lila glanced back at him. "Not if I have anything to say about it," she answered. Then softer, "And not if you help me." "Me?" Noah pointed at his own chest. "What can I do?" "You can be still," she told him. "You can listen, and you can let the grown-ups do their job without giving them one more thing to worry about. That's big help." No one had ever told him that before, that doing nothing could be helping. He nodded slowly. "Okay." The elevator dinged again. 2 building medics hurried in with a small rolling bag and a stretcher. They checked Mrs. Doyle's arm, wrapped it, and lifted her carefully onto the stretcher. Marcus stood over them the whole time, his face tight in a way that had nothing to do with money or business. "Will she be all right?" he asked. His voice was calmer than he felt. "Looks like a bad sprain, maybe a small fracture," one medic said. "We'll take her down to the clinic for x-rays to be sure." She was lucky. Lucky, Lila thought, looking at the heavy stand lying where a head might have been. Lucky, and maybe watched over. If you're enjoying this story, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss the next powerful billionaire story. As they rolled Mrs. Doyle away, she reached out her good hand and caught Lila's fingers. "Thank you," she whispered. "If you hadn't—" Her voice trailed off. Lila squeezed her hand. "Hush now. You just focus on getting better. I'll come see you." The elevator doors closed with a soft whoosh. Silence fell again. The broken glass sparkled up at them. The water kept slowly spreading. Noah's voice broke the quiet. "It's my fault," he blurted. Everyone turned to him. "I threw the bowl," he said. "I hit the stand before. I made it wobbly. If Mrs. Doyle had died, it would have been my fault." His words came out too fast, like they were tripping over each other. His chest started to heave. Panic rose in his eyes again. "I always mess everything up. I always—" "Stop." The word was soft, but it stopped him like a hand on his shoulder. Lila walked back over to him, stepping again between the pieces. She stopped right in front of him. "Look at me," she said. He didn't want to, but he did. "You did throw the bowl," she said plainly. "You did knock the stand. That was wrong. Grown-ups have probably been telling you that in this house for a while now. Huh. He swallowed and nodded. But hear me and hear me good, Noah. Her voice was clear and firm. You did not do this on purpose. You did not say, I want Mrs. Doyle to get hurt today. Did you? No, he cried. Then it was an accident that came out of a bad choice, she said. Bad choices can be fixed. Hearts like yours. She tapped his chest with a gentle finger. They can be healed. You understand. His eyes filled with tears, but they didn't fall. Not yet. People get tired of me, he muttered. They always leave. Lila's face softened. Maybe you been testing them, she said quietly. Seein' if they'll stay when you show 'em your worst. That sound about right? He blinked at her. No adult had ever said that to him. He didn't even know how to answer. Behind them, Dana bent down and started cleaning the glass with the guard. Marcus just watched. He had never seen anyone talk to his son like this. Not like a problem. Not like a prince. Like a person. Ms. Carter, he said at last, his voice low. We need to talk. She did not drop Noah's hand this time. She just turned her head a little. We can talk right here, she said. Anything you need to say. He's old enough to hear, long as you say it right. Marcus's jaw tightened. He wasn't used to being told where he could talk in his own home. But then he saw Noah's fingers, clinging to the stranger like she was a life jacket in a deep, dark sea. Fine, he said. Here then. He took a breath. My assistant will send you the final papers this afternoon. If you agree to the terms, you can move into the guest suite tomorrow. We'll do a trial week. If it goes well, we'll extend it. Noah's head snapped up. You're staying? He asked Lila. If she agrees, Marcus said quickly. Lila looked down at Noah. His eyes were begging even though his lips stayed pressed in a stubborn line. Her secret twisted inside her like a knot. Harrington, this house, this man, this boy. Lord, she thought, we really doing this? Out loud, she said, Baby, I can't promise forever. Nobody can. But I can promise I'll try my best if your daddy still wants me here. I don't want anyone, Noah said, but it sounded weak, like even he didn't believe himself. I want you, he added in a rush, looking down so no one could see his burning cheeks. Lila smiled. Then I'll be back, she said. You and me got some work to do. That afternoon was slower, quieter. That was the less extreme. The medics called to say Mrs. Doyle's arm was only badly sprained. No broken bones. She would wear a sling for a few weeks and rest. Everyone breathed easier. A cleaning team came and swept up the glass, dried the floor, polished the marble until it looked like nothing bad had ever happened there. But Lila knew better. Bad things did happen in pretty places. She had seen it too many times. She went back to the shelter to pack her few clothes and her one extra pair of shoes. Some of the women there hugged her. One said, You come back if they treat you bad, you hear? I hear, Lila said. On the bus ride back to the tower the next morning, she watched the city roll by. Small brick houses, busy corner stores, children walking to school with backpacks almost bigger than they were. Then the tall glass buildings rose like another world growing out of the first. At the door of the tower, the same woman sat at the front desk. This time, when she saw Lila, her eyes widened. You came back, she said, surprised. Told them I would, Lila said. And I do try to keep my word. Upstairs, Dana met her at the elevator. Your room is ready, she said. And, thank you, for yesterday. We would have lost Mrs. Doyle's arm for sure without you. Let's not go giving me all that credit, Lila replied. Took a lot of us to keep her safe. That's how life goes. We're all holding each other up, even when we don't know it. Dana smiled a little at that. Come on, I'll show you the suite. The guest suite was bigger than any home Lila had ever lived in. It had a soft bed, a small sitting area, even its own bathroom with a tub that looked like a white boat. But what caught her eye was the window. It looked out over the park. Her park. The patch of green didn't look so small from this angle. Breakfast is at 8, Dana said. Noah usually eats alone in his room if we can't get him to come out. Maybe you'll have better luck. Lila nodded. We'll see. She unpacked her bag slowly. She slid the worn picture of the young man and the little girl under her pillow. Then she went to find Noah. She discovered him in a game room, sitting on the floor in front of a giant screen, a video game controller limp in his hands. The bright colors flashed on his face, but his eyes were empty. You the one supposed to make me normal now? He asked without looking at her. No, Lila said, sitting down on the rug a few feet away. Her knees popped. I'm the one supposed to help you be you, but without breaking so many things. He snorted. Good luck. Don't need luck, she said. Got time and patience. You'll quit, he mumbled. You all do. We'll see, she replied. They sat there in the light of the flashing game. Seconds stretched into minutes. How'd you know what to do yesterday? He asked suddenly. With Mrs. Doyle? He nodded. Been around hurt people a long time, she said softly. Learned a few tricks. Learned to listen more than I talk. Pain screams, if you listen close enough. He was quiet for a moment. Do you hear me screaming? He asked in a very small voice. She looked at him. Oh, baby, she said. I hear you loud as church bells. He swallowed hard. Nobody else does. Maybe they don't know how to listen yet, she said. Maybe I can teach him. That night, the house settled into its own kind of quiet. The kind where money had bought the silence, but not the peace. Marcus sat alone in his office, staring at a photo of Noah as a baby, his dead wife Emily holding him. He was thinking about how Noah had held that old woman's hand like it was the only solid thing in his world. In the dark of his new room, Noah slept for a little while. Then the nightmares came. He saw headlights, screeching tires, his mother's scream. He woke up with a strangled cry, heart pounding, sweat on his face. The room felt too small. The air felt too thick. He stumbled out of bed, yanked open his door, and ran down the hall, bare feet slapping the cool wood. He didn't know where he was going. He just knew he had to get away from the pictures in his head. He turned a corner and found a glass door he'd never bothered with before. He pushed it open. Cold night air hit his face. He had stepped onto the rooftop balcony, high above the city. The wind whipped at his thin t-shirt. The lights below looked like fallen stars. He walked to the edge, breathing hard. His toes touched the metal rail. His fingers wrapped around it. If he climbed up, just a little, the whole world would be right under him. Inside the penthouse, a small red light blinked on a security monitor. A motion alarm had gone off on the roof. In her room, Lila's eyes snapped open. She didn't know why. She just felt something twist in her chest, sharp and sudden. Something was wrong, very wrong. And on the edge of that high, cold balcony, Noah lifted one foot and placed it on the bottom rail. Chapter 3. Cold air pressed against Noah's face. The city lights below him were tiny and far away, like a whole other world he didn't belong to. His toes curled around the cold metal rail. One foot was already lifted, resting on the bottom bar. The wind pushed at his thin body. His heart pounded so loud he could hear it in his ears. He didn't really want to die. He just didn't know how to live like this anymore. Inside, down the hall, Lila sat straight up in bed. Her chest hurt, like someone had grabbed her heart with a fist. Lord, she whispered in the dark. What is it? No answer came, of course. But the feeling did not go away. It grew stronger. She slid out of bed, pushed her feet into her shoes, and opened her door. The hallway was quiet, too quiet. Then she felt it again, the cold. A thin strip of night air brushed across her ankles, coming from around the corner. She followed it. When she turned the corner, she saw the glass door to the rooftop balcony standing half open, curtains moving in the wind. Her breath caught. She moved faster than her old knees liked, but she didn't run. Running would make noise. Noise could scare a child already on an edge. She slipped through the door. There he was. Noah stood at the rail, small and alone against the huge, dark sky. 1 foot on the bottom bar. hands gripping the top rail so tight his knuckles were white. For a second, Lila couldn't move. A memory slammed into her. Another frightened child. Another high place. Another night full of sirens. Not again, she thought. Please, God, not again. Her voice came out calm, even though her blood felt like ice. Hey there, baby. Noah flinched. His shoulders jerked up, but he didn't turn around. Go away, he said. His voice shook. You're not supposed to be up here. Neither are you, Lila answered softly. She took one quiet step closer. But here we both are. I mean it, he snapped. Don't come closer. His fingers tightened on the rail. His lifted foot wobbled. Lila stopped. The wind tugged at her dress. Okay, she said. I'll stay right here. You got my word. For a moment, the only sound was the city below, humming and buzzing like a big metal beehive. You mad at me, Noah? She asked. Her voice stayed gentle. Mad enough to scare me like this? He shook his head. I'm mad at me, he whispered. I break everything. I hurt people. If I wasn't here, nobody would get hurt. Oh, baby, she said. The pain in his words cut into her. Who told you that lie? It's true. His voice rose. Mom died. Nanny's quit. Mrs. Doyle almost died. It's all my fault. It is not, Lila said. There was steel in her voice now. What happened to your mama was not your fault. What happened to Mrs. Doyle was an accident. You did some wrong things, yes, but you did not wake up and say, I want to hurt people today. He squeezed his eyes shut. Tears slid down his cheeks, caught by the wind. I just wanted to stop, he choked. The pictures, the dreams, the yelling in my head. I can't make it stop. Lila swallowed. Her own eyes burned. Listen to me, Noah, she said. You don't want to stop your life. You want to stop your pain. Those are not the same thing. He sniffed. Feels the same. One ends everything, Lila said slowly. The other can end and you still get to stay. You still get to grow. You still get to laugh at dumb jokes and eat pancakes and fall in love with a dog and see the ocean and all kinds of things you ain't done yet. I don't care, he muttered. But his fingers were shaking now. So was his lifted foot. Then let me care for you, she said. Just for tonight. You can be angry. You can be sad. You can yell at me if you need to. That's all allowed. Only thing not allowed is you climbing any higher on that rail. You hear me? Silence. The door behind them clicked softly. Far inside, the tiny red alarm light still blinked. A sleepy security guard had finally checked the monitor and was hurrying toward the elevator. Out on the balcony, the wind blew harder. Noah's shirt flapped. His lifted foot slipped just a little. His stomach dropped. Fear shot through him like lightning. I'm scared, he whispered. The words tore out of him without permission. I know you are, Lila said. Her own fear stayed hidden under her words. You think I'm not? Little boys standin' on high ledges in the middle of the night. You got all my gray hairs standin' on end. He almost laughed. Almost. Can you take one step back for me? She asked. Just one. Not 5. Not 10. Just one. You keep your hands on that rail. Keep your other foot on the ground. Just pull that first foot back down. I'll count with you. He shook his head. I can't. You can't, or you're scared to? Both. Well, lucky for you, she said softly. Scared people do brave things all the time. That's what brave means. Being scared and move in anyway. On 3. Ready? He didn't say yes, but he didn't say no either. 1, she said. I'm right here. I ain't going anywhere. He took a deep breath. The night air burned his lungs. 2. You got 2 feet. They both want to be on the same side of that rail. He stared at his lifted foot, at the long drop beyond it. His heart hammered. His fingers were numb from squeezing the cold metal. 3. With a tiny cry, Noah yanked his foot back and slammed it down on the safe side of the rail. His knees buckled. At that same instant, a gust of wind hit him hard in the chest. He stumbled forward. His hands slipped. For one sick, horrible second, his body tipped toward the open air. Noah! Lila shouted. She lunged. Pain shot through her hip, but she didn't care. Her fingers caught his arm, then his shirt, yanking him backward with all the strength left in her. They both fell hard onto the cold stone floor. Noah crashed into her chest. The breath whooshed out of her. Pain flared bright in her ribs. But he was on the balcony, not over it. He burst into wild, ugly sobs. Not the angry kind, the broken kind. Lila wrapped her arms around him and held on like she would never let go. "I got you," she whispered into his hair. "I got you, baby. You're here. You're here." The elevator doors banged open behind them. The security guard spilled out, hair messy, shirt untucked. Marcus was right behind him, barefoot in sweatpants and a t-shirt, eyes wide and wild in a way his board of directors had never seen. "What happened?" he shouted. "Is he?" He stopped. Under the cold moonlight, he saw his son pressed against this old woman's chest, crying so hard his whole body shook. He saw the open rail. He saw what almost happened. For a moment, the mighty Marcus Harrington could not speak. The security guard hurried forward and slammed the safety locks on the rail, hands trembling. Lila didn't look up. She just kept rocking Noah slowly, like he was much younger than 8. "You're okay," she murmured. "You scared yourself, that's all. Scared us too. But you're still here." Marcus stepped closer, his own breath ragged. "Noah," he said softly. His son didn't look at him, didn't reach for him, just held tighter to Lila. Something inside Marcus cracked. Later, after they were all back inside, after the balcony door was locked and alarms reset, the night grew quieter. The extreme had passed. For now, Lila sat on the edge of Noah's bed. His eyes were red and puffy. He clutched a stuffed bear so old its fur was just fuzzy fabric. "Did you tell anybody about before?" he asked in a small voice. "I told your daddy you had a big scare," she said, "and that we need to get you some better help for all that pain inside. But that's your story, Noah. Nobody gets to tell it for you unless you say so." He sniffed. "Am I in trouble?" "You in a little trouble," she said honestly. "We don't stand on high places like that. That rules for everybody, big and small. But mostly you're in pain. And folks in pain need help more than they need punishment." He was quiet for a long time. "Will you be here when I wake up?" he whispered. "If the good Lord lets me open my eyes," she said. "I'll be right down that hall. First door on the left." His lips twitched. "You talk funny." "I talk like where I come from," she said proudly. "Where's that?" "Maybe I'll tell you one day," she answered. "Right now you need sleep." He fell asleep, still holding her hand. In the doorway, Marcus watched. His face was unreadable. When Lila stepped out, closing the door quietly, he stopped her with a gesture. "You saved his life," he said. His voice sounded rough, like he hadn't used it in years. "We both did," she answered. He had to pull that foot back himself. Marcus rubbed his forehead. For a second, he looked less like a billionaire and more like a tired father. "If Child Services hears about this," he muttered. "If anyone finds out he was on that roof, then we tell him the truth," Lila said. A hurt boy got too close to the edge, and the grown-ups around him stepped up like they should. He looked at her sharply. "You don't understand how this works. People are watching me, waiting for me to fail. A story like this gets out, and they'll say I'm an unfit father. They'll try to take him away." Lila's eyes flashed. "You more scared of losing your son? Or losing your name?" He stared at her. No one talked to him like that. But before he could answer, Dana appeared at the end of the hall, face pale. "Sir," she said, "there's a Ms. Ramirez downstairs, from Child and Family Services." Marcus went cold. "At this hour?" "She says it's about Noah. She needs to speak with you, and with his primary caregiver." Dana's eyes darted to Lila. Within minutes, they were all in the study. Ms. Ramirez was a woman in her 40s with dark hair pulled back in a tight bun and a serious face. She held a folder under her arm. "Mr. Harrington," she said, "thank you for seeing me on such short notice. I didn't have much choice, did I?" Marcus replied tightly. "We received an anonymous concern," she said, opening her folder. About your son's recent behavior. Multiple nannies quitting. Violent outbursts. A recent medical report about an injury to a staff member in the home. And, she glanced up, an emergency alert from your rooftop security system less than an hour ago. Marcus shot a look at the guard, who shifted uncomfortably. Ms. Ramirez set a form on the desk. Her voice was steady, but there was real worry in her eyes. Based on what I've seen so far, she said, we may have to consider placing Noah in temporary care outside this home for his own safety. If you enjoyed the story, make sure to subscribe and stay tuned for more emotional and powerful billionaire stories coming soon.